of the greatest temptations in prayer is to lose heart, because sometimes God delays his answers. Is it possible the reason God has not yet answered your prayer is because he likes you? Come with me to our parable now, Luke 18. There's a little 7-word prayer in verse 3 that I want to highlight. Get justice for me from my adversary. This is one of the most powerful prayers that you can pray as a believer, and here's why. When you are crying out to God for justice, you are actually asking for 2 things. Number 1, justice involves restoration. When the adversary comes to steal from your life, justice demands that he restore everything that was stolen. But when the adversary steals from you, and then God bears long with you, now a second element kicks in with justice. I call it restitution. Restitution has to do with the length of time that you were without it. Not only did the adversary rip you off, he ripped you off for a long time. And now for justice to be satisfied, there must be more than simply restoration. There must now be restitution. Let me illustrate this from the Bible. Joseph, justice says to Joseph, your freedom was stolen from you. That was wrong. Justice demands a restoration of Joseph's freedom. Restitution goes, wait a second. You just give Joseph his freedom back. You are not answering what this young man has lived through. 10 years in an Egyptian cell. There's water gone under the bridge that will never be recovered. Losses that Joseph will never get back. For justice to be answered, it's not enough that Joseph simply have his freedom restored. Restitution says it's not enough that he simply be restored. You've got to give Joseph the palace, the throne. An illustration from a woman, Elizabeth. Her motherhood was stolen from her. Justice says, you must restore to Elizabeth her motherhood. It was stolen from her. It's wrong. You've got to give her a baby. Restitution goes, excuse me. You just give Elizabeth a baby. You are not answering for what this woman has lived through. Decades of depression, decades of darkness, decades of reproach, decades of crying out to God. God, answer me. God, help. God, hear my cry. Give me a baby. After all these years, restitution says, for justice to be satisfied in Elizabeth's life, you've got to give her more than just a baby. You have to give her a baby boy. But that's still not enough. You've got to give her a prophet. But that's still not enough. You've got to give her more than a prophet. Elizabeth, you get John the Baptist. I'm trying to bring out a principle in God's Word right now, but I find in Proverbs 6 verse 30, people Do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy himself when he is starving. Yet when he is found, he must restore sevenfold. He may have to give up all the substance of his house. There is as much as a sevenfold restitution that the enemy will have to cough up, because he came to steal, kill, and destroy. And then God bore long with you. And now you qualify not simply for restoration, you now qualify for restitution. Is it possible the reason God has not yet answered your prayer is because he likes you? Is it possible the reason God has not yet answered your prayer is because he has more for you than you have for yourself? Is it possible the reason he has not yet answered your prayer, you've been thinking restoration, he's been thinking restitution? But he's like this: I've got more for you than you can even ask or think. But in order to qualify for restitution, I need to bear long with you, because now you qualify for justice, restoration, and restitution.